Welcome to Loops in Python. So we're going to compare some loops to riding a ride at an amusement park. And we're going to try and use some comparisons here to make it a little bit easier to understand how you can use loops in Python. A for loop in Python, this can be thought of as the ticket that you would have for a number of rides or a set number of rides that you can ride at an amusement park. So imagine you get a ticket and it says you can ride the roller coaster 5 times. You ride it once and then again and again until you've used up all 5 of the turns and then you stop. Okay, that would be a for loop, and we'll write out an example for that right now for you so that you can see how it looks in Python. You're essentially knowing exactly how many times you're going on the ride from the start, and you can see each time that you've done a ride, you can see how that prints out and it looks in Python. So I'm going to zoom in here for us, and let's start this off. So we are going to say for. That's how you start off a for loop. That will let the program know that it's going to do something a certain amount of times. And for indicates that. You can even see that the color changes here of the word. That's our fancy word that we're going to use for a for loop. So we're going to say for ride. Let's assume that ride is the ticket or the ride that we're actually going to do. And we're going to do that inside of a range of, let's go with 5 times. So we're going to set our ride limit to 5. And we will use a colon here, which means anything that's happening below, as long as it's tabbed over, there's this section here that's tabbed over or indented. As long as it's indented, it will happen every single time until that limit is reached. So for the ride in range 5, we're going to print out, I'm riding the roller coaster. Okay. We can say I love it too, but we won't for right now. We're just going to say print out, I'm riding the roller coaster. And if I run this program, it should print out that I am riding the roller coaster 5 times. There we go. So what do we have here? We have, I'm riding the roller coaster 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's working. It has gone through this print statement every time that we went on a ride in a range of 5 times. So we know exactly how many times we were going to ride from the start till the end, and then it stopped. We can actually implement what we learned in the previous video of variables, and we could print out the value of ride, because every time that it goes through the loop, the word ride here is acting as a variable, which you can see, and it's storing it as an integer. So you can see what the value of ride is every single time you go through the loop. For example, we can say lap number, or actually not lap. Let's say for the, sure, let's do that. For the ride plus 1 time. Okay. Fix our issues here. There we go. We can get rid of these as well, just to make it a little bit easier to understand. And we're going to separate these with commas like we learned before. So it's going to say, I'm riding the roller coaster for the ride plus 1 time. Now you might be wondering why I added a plus 1. And that's because when you count in a program, you're actually counting and starting from 0. And that can be helpful if you wanted to start from 0. In this case, we're trying to make it more human. So we're just going to start at 1, and we do that by adding 1. So it'll start on lap number 0 plus 1, which will be 1, all the way up to 4 plus 1, which is going to be 5. So let's run this and see what it looks like. And there you have it. I'm riding the roller coaster for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you wanted to get more fancy, you could add the THs or the STs for first, second, third, fourth, like that. That just takes a little bit more coding, but you can see easily how you can actually take those numbers in that variable and implement it. So that is for our for loop. And I'm just going to write here, looping through a range of numbers like a roller coaster ticket. There's another type of loop that you can use, which is called a while loop. And a while loop works basically forever until a condition or something happens where you're going to stop. So if you don't know exactly how many times you're going to do something, but you know you're going to do it over and over again until you stop, you would use something like a while loop. So our example today, instead of looping through a range of numbers like a roller coaster ticket, we're going to loop forever until we get sick. Well, maybe we won't get sick. Maybe we'll stop when we feel sick. There we go. That's a better option. So we're going to basically ride and ride and ride. We're going to go on the roller coaster forever until we start to feel sick. And when you feel sick, this is called a condition. And this is what will allow us to kind of break out of this loop and finish the loop and move on to doing something else. Maybe going to get some water or something like that. So let's imagine we can ride the roller coaster as many times as we want. And we're going to make a condition that we're going to stop when we feel sick. So let's create that variable right now. We're going to say feeling sick equals, and in this case, it knows that we're going to use a Boolean, which is awesome. But we're going to say true or false for feeling sick, and we're going to use this as our condition. In this case, we'll set it to false because we don't feel sick yet. And we should keep track of our rides. So let's say rides right now, let's start at 0. And as we go through the loop, we'll count our rides and we'll see how many rides we can do until we feel sick. Okay, so here's how we're going to start this off. The for loop used the word for up here. If you're guessing what the while loop uses, I'll give you 2 seconds to think about it. That's correct. The while loop uses while. So we're going to say, well, we are not feeling sick. And we have our colons here because we're going to press the return key and it should tab us over. There's our intent right there. We're going to print out, let's skip what it's suggesting here. Let's just print out riding the roller coaster. Okay, so it's going to print that forever until we tell it to stop. So if we were to run this program right now, what would actually happen is it would just print this forever. We can see what that looks like. And it will create this endless loop for us. And it's just continuously printing and printing and printing and printing. It's still running. So we're going to stop it. That will just last forever. So we need to find a way to stop it. And in this case, we're going to stop it when we feel sick. So if we put down here, feeling sick equals true, this should go through the while loop. It should begin it. It should print riding the roller coaster. And then it gets to the next line where we feel sick and it should stop. So let's run this. So we ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's our for loop. Then riding the roller coaster, this only happened one time because feeling sick happened one line after we printed out that we were running it. That's kind of not true. We probably wanted to to ride a couple times. So let's set a condition that after a certain amount of rides, we're going to simulate feeling sick. So we need to keep track of rides. We'll create, oh, perfect. There we go. We'll create a variable called rides, and we're going to use plus equals 1, which means it's going to count up by 1 each time the ride happens. Okay. This is the exact same as writing rides equals rides plus 1, just with a little bit less typing. And we're going to make our condition now. So we'll learn about if statements later, but for the sake of this video, I'll just type it out here. So if our rides is going to be less than or equal to 5 in this case, then we could say that we're feeling sick. We're going to set it to an actual specific number. So we're going to say if our rides equals, let's say 6, then because we have this colon here, we need to indent this over. Oops. Feeling 6 equals true. So this should, in theory, go through this loop. It'll go up every single time until it gets to 6. Once it hits 6, it will say that we are feeling sick. And let's see how that looks. There we go. So there are 6 rides, and then we decided that we felt sick. So in this case, what's happening is we didn't really know how many times we would ride. We just started riding the roller coaster, and then we kept going until we felt sick, which is a condition. So now it's your turn. I want you to try and play around with the loops here, and I'm going to give you a challenge. And what I want you to do is create this challenge on your own, and I want you to try and post it in the comments below so that you can share what you've developed with others. So here's your challenge. I want you to pick an analogy that you can relate to and write a for loop and a while loop that represents this analogy. You can use the code as above as a guide, absolutely. I think you should use some comments to explain what each line of the code is doing for sure. And then, like I mentioned before, post your analogy into the comments section below. Can't wait to see what you come up with.